Just breathing in the silence right now. Greetings, namaste. Hello, aloha. It's going to take a moment for people to come and gather. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Welcome to episode 7 of Ascension Inspiration. Jason Michael. He'll be here shortly. Just kidding. Welcome. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good now. The music that's underneath today is from Jonathan Goldman, Master Sound Healer. And this is a track that he did with Greg Braden called The Divine Name, the Sounds of the God Code. And so I'm going to let this just play in the backdrop while people gather. Namaste, Esther. If you want to say hello, where you're from, how you doing today on this 13th of June. Just breathing in, breathing with you, knowing that there is one breath, there is one power, there is one presence that's uniting us, breathing us, unifying us in a coherent, resonant heart space. If you haven't caught any of the previous episodes, I'll put the links up there for the previous ones. This is episode 7 of chapter 6 of a book that I've been reading out loud called The Dossier on the Ascension by Serapis Bay. Got my new shirt on. Check that out. We can just sit there and stare at that for a moment. Look at that. I want to thank my client, Nate. Thank you, Nate. I love this shirt. This is it, right? All of it. That actually has a sound. And the sound is all ye more or less. I'm going to turn this down and say hello. We'll get into this. So, hello, Joelle Saint Germain. Thank you so much for your presence in this now. Appreciate you being here. And everybody that's here, you can say hello, where you're from. This is as interactive as we want to be. And going back to the reason, the why this is even here now on this day. About 8 weeks ago, I was in a sound bath breathwork meditation, and my guides, the ones I work with, one of them being Serapis Bay, an ascended master from the etheric retreat of Luxor over Egypt, and he's one of my guys, one of my teammates, one of my guides, one of my sponsors, whatever you want to call that, on the other side. And along with the Great White Brotherhood and the Ascended Masters are a council of light beings that you have an option to work with and listen and get quiet and realize that there are councils within councils that you can work with. And so this really isn't to go into all that. My intention always is to bring down the sublime into very simple, practical wisdom. If it's not practical, if it's not something that we can use in our life, then what's the purpose, right? And I read something. Howard Thurman's one of my heroes in spirituality. He is the kind of the grandfather of what is called science of mind. He influenced Ernest Holmes in what is called the science of mind. And Howard says, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs now is more people who've come alive. Right? This is what makes me come alive, is reading sacred texts. I'm constantly reading our home. Heather has a living audiobook in her home. And what I know is that my voice, there's many, I see Stellar here. Blessings, thank you for being here, sister. Somebody like Stellar and my beloved, their gift is the song. You know, sound comes in different ways. Light comes in different ways. And sound and light comes through my speaking voice. Especially when I'm reading text coded with light intelligence. And so there will be an activation. There will be something that inspires you. There will be something that may challenge you. It may uplift you. My intention is to unpack my heart and go here. And this is what makes me come alive, is reading sacred text and inspiring us to ascend. You know, and I want to go back to, I say this every time, what is ascension? It's a very simple process. I went to askangels.com, and ascension by definition is the path of those who are choosing to consciously step into a higher level of light. It's a personal choice to boldly step into the unknown in order to expand into an experience that is entirely new. Ascension is actively choosing to evolve into a higher consciousness. Raise it up. We know that our world is in a state that does not work for the many. It works only for a few. And that is incorrect. That is not righteous. That is not what we call Pona, what we call, Michael Tallinger calls it Ubuntu. What's good for the one should be good for the many. What's good for the many is good for the one. And there is only one of us, and there are imbalances. And so we know that the state of the world that we have created, we have co-created this. We said yes. There are no victims. We said it, but we have an opportunity to ascend and to rise into a higher state of consciousness. We'll never, as Einstein says, create anew with the same mindset, the same consciousness that created the problem. If we want a solution, we need to raise up. And that's what ascension really is. It's raising your consciousness, right? Ascension is merging with your higher self, opening your heart, and expanding to reunite with Source, Christ light, your mighty I Am presence. On all levels, mental, emotional, physical, etheric, on all levels, you are a multi-bodied, multi-dimensional aspected being. You're not just your physical form. So that's just, I'm not going to go into all that. I just want to recap what is ascension and what is ascension inspiration. This might seem woo-woo to you. It might seem way out there, but for me, it's what makes me come alive. And as Howard Thurman says, do that, what makes you come alive, because that's what we need. And he also said there's something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It's the only true guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, you will all your life spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. And this is very important. I'm very clear that the presence within me, my mighty I Am, my Christ itself, we give it names. We give names of guides. In Serapis Bay, I give a name to an aspect of consciousness that is my consciousness. It is me. There's only one, the monad, the God presence. That presence, comes in different light streams. It comes in different channels, right? But it is my guidance. And so we've got to really pay attention and follow that guidance. And so if any of this today, as you watch, doesn't resonate, that's okay. I'm not attached to it. I'm not here to convert you, convince you, condemn you, criticize you. I'm here to connect to you from my heart to your heart, from my mind to your mind, knowing that there is only one heart, one mind. And so as I get genuine here, I really do believe that you will access that genuine part of you. All right? So I'm going to go into it and reading it. It's chapter 6. Once again, this is called The Ascension Inspiration by Serapis Bay. And today I'm not going to go into describing who Serapis Bay is. This was a book that was produced by the Summit Lighthouse University. And I see some of you popping in here, and I'll say hello as it comes in. I say hello, Kelly Beement, my dear, dear sister, my dear longtime friend. Hello to you and your beautiful boy, Leo. The chapter 6 is titled The Awareness of Man's Union with God. And there's a little quote in the beginning of it. It says, "Unto you who would understand the mission and the movement of the God flame upon earth, I say, learn of me and my contact with the fire of contact and make it your own. We're going to be reading about this fire element, and I was thinking about it before we went live. The fire of God, the fire element. Serapis Bey is known as the keeper of what is called the Ascension Flame. All right, there's a threefold flame. You may have heard of this. If not, you're hearing it for the first time. There is a threefold flame in the center of your being, in your soul, in the very essence of who and what you are. And it's been emanated with the three, the magical three. We've seen it in symbology and the body, mind, spirit, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. But there is this flame that's within you. All right, and the flame of God, I was reminded when Moses saw the burning bush and it was God speaking, what did he see? He saw a fiery bush. He saw a bush that was on fire, the fire of God. There is a flame. Before I begin, I want to recite something I recite every single day. Every single day. It's called the Keeper of the Flame Daily Prayer. I've said it before. Maybe some of you are going to hear it again. And something I invite you to recite in your own being. And it's from Saint Germain. A flame is active. A flame is vital. A flame is eternal. We are a God flame of pure, radiant love from the very heart of God in the great central sun, descending from the Master of life. We are charged now with beloved Helios and Vesta, supreme God consciousness and solar awareness. Pilgrim upon the earth, we are walking the way of the Ascended Master's victory, which leads to our eternal freedom. And by the power of the sacred fire, this day and always continually made manifest in my thoughts, in my feelings, and my immediate awareness, transcending and transmuting all the elements of the earth within my 4 lower bodies, and freeing me by the power of the sacred fire from those misqualified foci of energy within my being. I am set free from all that binds here and now, by and through the currents of the divine flame of the sacred fire itself, whose ascending action makes me God in manifestation, God in action, God by direction, and God in consciousness. I am an active flame. I am a vital flame. I am an eternal flame. I am an expanding fire spark from the great central sun, drawing to me now every ray of divine energy which I need and which can never be requalified by the human, and flooding me with the light and God illumination of 1,000 suns to take dominion and rule supreme forever everywhere I am. And where I am, God is there also. Unseparated forever I remain, increasing my light by the smile of his radiance, the fullness of his love, the omniscience of his wisdom, and by the power of his life eternal, which automatically raises me on ascension's wings of victory, that shall return me to the heart of God, from whence in truth I am come to do God's will and manifest abundant life to all. And so be it in God's most holy name. I am that I am. You are that you are. That is called the Keeper of the Flame prayer. So I just want to invoke that for the space, knowing that this is a sacred space. The fire of God will light something inside you as it comes from my heart to your heart. All right? So, Serapis says, where is the dwelling place of the Most High God? This seeming mystery, answered by some as God is everywhere, is not clear to the minds of many who seek their ascension. To the masses, many of the great cardinal principles of the cosmos are yet a babble of voices with no tones that are clearly predominant. Let us move aside the curtain and show the light behind the veil. We're going to go take a look behind the veil. You ready? It's like getting to see Oz. First must come the concept of hollowing space, then of desecration by misqualified energy. The idea that God is everywhere is perfectly correct, viewed from the standpoint that all things exist by his grace and life. If God is everywhere, then where is the mobility of his spirit to move upon mankind and upon the creation which he has made? Graduation of concentration of consciousness. Graduation of concentration of consciousness. It's a big phrase right there. Must be recognized. It must be understood by the devotee that any point in space that exists in self-conscious awareness and an awareness of the I Am presence may draw upon the very essence of the Godhead and cause the filaments of its awareness to glow with greater measure of divine energy as that energy is invoked. It's not enough just to know that God is everywhere. It's important for us to claim, these decrees, these prayers, whatever we do, we are calling upon our I Am presence. We're calling upon our God presence. Because I don't know about you, but when I don't pray, when I don't meditate, when I don't do my daily spiritual discipline, it's a discipline, but it's a discipline because it aligns me with divine energy, supernal energy, God energy. I am radiant. I'm just full of light. And now I'm a magnetic, radiant center in my world of affairs. Be a father, a husband, a friend, a coach, a DJ, an MC, whatever it is I'm doing when I'm invoking that. But without that graduation of concentration of consciousness, yeah, God is everywhere, but there's a level of it, right? Where the energy of God is consistently invoked, and the intervals of ordinary consciousness interspersed between the concentration of divine energy at a point in space are lessened, a greater transmutation occurs. Let it be clear then that the responsibility for opening the door to divine manifestation is every man, every woman's own. We can't expect God, the God of the universe, whatever you want to call it, source, mother, father, Abba, Mama, to do something for us without us being in relationship with this source, God. Let it be clear then that the responsibility for opening the door to divine manifestation is every man's own. Just as men and women are responsible for taking the pure stream of radiant energy, which is their life, and misqualifying it with wrong thoughts against others, whether they deem such misqualification justifiable or not, so they are responsible for opening that great door of cosmic opportunity in fulfillment of the divine plan. This is accomplished by drawing upon the creative presence of God released through his energies, which are poured out in the limitless emanations of himself into the world of the individual. These emanations are known as the fire of contact that will consume the dross of mortal thought and feeling and build, according to the cosmic design, a complete sense of victorious enfoldment by the Godhead. There's things coming up that I want to share about this because, on our planet, we've had evolutions of revolutions, revolutions of evolutions of consciousness. We've had cycles of light and integration, and then we go to sleep, and we've had many through eons of time. And I'm not here to go into a history, because a lot of our history that we've read in our history books in school are just BS. It's not real history. It's not her story. It's not even really our story. Our story is really being revealed. But the I Am Foundation, when we understood the power of the I Am, the mighty I Am presence, when we could really align, you've probably seen the chart, a lot of the images of the human and the Christ and the God presence, and the radiant rainbow body you see outside, and the light, the pillar of light with the violet flame around it. Maybe you've seen it. We've understood this. But our planet, even those in the 1950s and the 1930s, when the Ballards, and even when the prophets and Camelot was here, and the Saint Germain Foundation, they did some things. They helped during World War II, but there's still chaotic nodes going on our planet right now, and we require, all of us are being called, for those of you that are listening to my voice, that have an idea that there is a power greater than you, your smaller you, that human you. There is a lower level of human consciousness that keeps creating conditions and experiences that little self doesn't want. And so there's a great self, a God self, an I Am presence that we're being called to align with, and have that fire of contact, that I am the vessel of the holy fire. And when enough of us are walking the earth with that emblazoned, great change will come. Freedom will come, true freedom. Because here in America, we call this a land of the free, but we got 5G network coming on this planet. That's not freedom. You know, we've got sexual pedophilia. We got kids that are being taken. That's not freedom. We've got debt management. We've got a country that's like full out debt. That's not freedom. We're not a land of the free. We aspire to be free. And the early fathers, the forefathers, worked with Saint Germain to help create a land of freedom. But a land of freedom starts with our individual fire of contact with the divine essence of the mighty I am that we are. Not a willy-nilly, praying to a God outside of you. It is to align you as that God presence. Love and blessings to you, Linda Fisher. Thank you for being here. Linda Fisher, everybody, she sat on the panel where I became a practitioner. She said, this man's got the consciousness of a practitioner who's here to help raise the vibration of the planet. Thank you. And so a lot of what I'm even saying here, a lot of this transmission that's coming through, like I love Science of Mind, and I know there's more. There's more. Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes and Howard Thurman and Phineas Quimby and Emma Curtis Hopkins, and these incredible illuminated minds, we're just scratching at the surface of something that's an ancient wisdom. And we're returning to something that is still on the cusp of integrating. If a lot of the members of these communities that I've been part of are really, truly embodying that radiant God presence, miracles, normicals would just be the occurrence. They would just be the occurrence. Our light quotient is the determiner of our life. So once again, let's be clear, it's up to us. One of the great teachings that was released at Luxor when beloved Jesus attended our school of ancient mystery was the unity of the Father and the Son. The proclamation, I and my Father are one, has been heard and read by many who have never entered into the meaning and experience of it. The proclamation of I and my Father are one has been heard and read by many who have never entered into the meaning and the experience of it. That's a huge statement. We've been reading our Bible. I come from decade of Christian programming, reading the Bible, being that the Bible was the only word of God, that God only spoke through that thing. That's a crazy thought. That's a limiting thought. That's a controlling thought. Because God speaks today. God has spoken in various texts in various religions and different cultures. And God's speaking now, whether you hear it or not, because I am one with the I am. I am that I am. And in my awareness, I'm speaking from my holy Christ itself, so I can say what Yeshua said, that I and the Father and Mother are one. This isn't Jason, little human Jason that was birthed in Boise, Idaho speaking. This is the Christ in me. Yeshua, Jesus, he wasn't Jesus Christ. Christ wasn't his last name. He became the Christ, right? He became that illuminated one by his work and in his work. And he did spend time with Serapis Bay in the etheric retreats at Luxor. And so he's saying that a lot of us haven't even entered into the meaning and experience of it. To follow the Christ in the regeneration is to follow the light of the eternal Spirit of God in man and to make of the living soul a continually renewed creature. When we're living in that spirit, we're constantly being renewed. I believe, in my experience, that if we're really accessing that light quotient in our body steam, and that fire is lit, and our electrons and our atoms, and we're lit, we're truly a radiant being, we're constantly in a rejuvenation, renewing. Our cells are renewing, they're becoming more silica. Less carbon-based, more light-based. That's where humanity's going. And we do it by having conscious contact with our mighty I am God presence. For it is the very nature of the soul ever to transcend itself as veil after veil of misqualification drops and reveals the transcendent light streaming from out of the very heart of the eternal Father into the heart of the Son, that one who is the real you. The veil upon veil, the proverbial onion layers, as we continue to peel away everything, every thought, every belief, every habit, everything that is unlike our true self. What comes underneath is the beautiful, radiant, crystalline, diamond, opalescent, rainbow light sphere that you are, that I am. But going back to conscious, graduated consciousness, there's a graduation of consciousness. You're evolving. You're not holding on to your old concepts and beliefs and structures that aren't working for you. And how do you know what's working for you? Are you happy? Are you peaceful? Are you prosperous? Are you healthy? Are you expanding in your creative offerings? That's how you know you have access. You're plugged into a source that's empowering you, emblazing you into your divine sovereignty. We can speak our sovereignty, but a lot of us are in a lot of delusion and thinking we are one thing, but not creating the life that's really matching what our mouths are saying. And there is that speak it, claim it, and it will continue to unfold. We don't want to look at our conditions and go, this is my life, this is my bank account, this is what I am. No, you're not that. You're not your beliefs, you're not your conditions. You are something greater than your conditions. You are the condition maker by what you choose to think and feel, and align yourself with the Christ essence and that which you are. One of the, let me go back here. Individuals often have a sense of struggle about spiritual things, just as they do about material things. To let go does not mean to let go of responsibility. It means to transfer one's personal sense of responsibility to God, and then to cling to the vibratory emanations of the Godhead with the divine design held in mind. Too often, students permit a sense of vacuum to occupy their minds in connection with letting go. You know, it's like, let go, let God. Okay, what does that mean? I've heard it like, okay, how do I let go? How do I let go of my worry? How do I let go of my anxiety about A, B, or C, whatever the condition is? How do you let go? You let go. You don't just let go and go, okay, I'm going to let go and trust God if something's going to happen better for my life. No, you let go of your worry, and then you hold the divine design that God is good. God is good. I am good in it. I know that my good is guaranteed. I know this. And so when I design this in my mind, now I have a mental thought. And when I have that thought, it creates a feeling. And when I have that feeling matched with that thought, this goes into this proverbial time-space and creates the form. That's how creation is made. But we have to create the divine design aligned with God's plan. God's plan, as Drake says. When I know God's plan for all of our life is to prosper us, not to harm us, not to have us struggle, not to have us be lonely without friends, without a love in your life. The God of the universe, the great design, is all built on relationship. Everything is about relationship. If you're out there a lone wolf right now, I invite you to suspend the fear or whatever's keeping you from being alone, what's keeping you in that isolated place, and open up your shutters, open the door up, put a welcome mat out there in your heart, and say, I'm open for friendship, I'm open for relationship, I'm open for the light of God to come in. But letting go is letting that design come in, right? Precious ones, knowledge itself, when it's not used, can easily pass from the consciousness. When an individual understands that that which he has called reality is unreal, whereas that which has seemed nebulous and afar is very nigh, He will be taking the first step towards the realization that God can, at any point in space, including the precise area of the individual's own present conscious existence, draw very nigh unto him and completely change his darkness into light. The miracle moment. It's all about willingness. It's all about acceptance. When we can let go of our resistance and our rebelliousness towards the will of God. And what is the will of God? The will of God is not what the church, the anti-church, has called the will of God. It's not to cause you to live a life of suffering. It's to live a life of abundance of happiness, right? But our darkness, wherever, if you're in a dark night at your soul, and I've been there, do something about it, do something, pray, meditate, connect, call somebody, serve somebody. Don't just sit there in that vibrational state of depravity thinking God's doing something to you. It may feel like that. It'll become that. The darkness is our own dark creation. We create our darkness. We on this planet have created our darkness. And we're waking up. We're waking up to realize and remember and recognize who and what we truly are, that we are divine, sovereign light beings, human angels. Jesus said, if the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is the darkness? He was, of course, referring to the misqualification of the light that an individual at one time or another has received from God. The consciousness of an atheist or agnostic is in a category by itself. To deny or question the existence of the deity may eventuate in the denial of the individual by the deity. But the fact that man does exist and is aware of self and others is proof of his own present opportunity to receive the divine gifts and graces of God. One of the problems, of course, inherent with present-day man is that he finds it difficult to believe in a God made in his own image, and rightly so. There's too much identifying by mankind of the Godhead with human foibles and human qualities. There's a great podcast I invite you to listen. It's on Spotify. It's on Oprah. It's Oprah's Soul Sessions with Father Richard Rohr. And he talks about the universal Christ. And I think part of it, we create this God in our own image, this punishing God, this vengeful, angry God. Because that's how humans are. When we're wronged, we punish and we send them to hell. We send them to the room, we spank them, or we take something, or we kill them, or we do something. That's human thinking. That's not God. That's not the creator of the universe, the creator of you, this patient, loving, graceful presence. We have to, a lot of times, undo our concept of God. It pains me in my heart. The Centers for Spiritual Living is a wonderful community. But I hear, people in the communities that Heather and I attend, and they have a problem with the word God, or they have the problem with the word Christ or Jesus. I understand. I get it. We have to unlearn and undo a whole lot of programming that's going on, and we have to let God be revealed in a new way. There's something I say every day, Heather and I say every day. I am changing all my garments, old ones, for the bright new day. With the sun of understanding, I am shining all the way. I am light within, without. I am light is all about. Fill me, free me, glorify me, seal me, heal me, purify me. Until transfigured, they describe me. I am shining like the sun. I am shining like the sun. God is like the sun, and so much more. So much more. To try to define it is to limit it. To try to personify God as this big bearded man who's going to smite you if you do wrong, that's a disgrace to God. It's not true. It's limiting. And of course we're going to rebel against that. I know I did. I had horrible father experiences growing up as a child, and I did not want to serve that father. Men must learn to bridle. Humanity must learn to bridle the destructive elements of human thought and feeling within themselves. I'm going to say this again. we must learn to bridle the destructive elements of human thought and feeling within ourselves. Guard your mind, for it is the wellspring of life. Your thoughts and your feelings are the electromagnetic impulses that are creating your life. And if we're running amok, we got just wild stallions running in the field, going wherever they are, or crazy little monkeys that are throwing crap everywhere, and we look at our life and we go, why is this still going on? Why am I still struggling here? You know, we have to take captive and bridle. Serapis goes on to say, as has been said, the well-intended have often led their unsuspecting fellows down the primrose path that seemed to have the lure of mental greatness about it, and thus they reason away the blessed spiritual opportunities afforded them. Those of you who are preparing for your ascension, or who are just getting used to the idea that this divine ritual is both a possibility and a necessity for men and women today, should understand that nothing in the world is so effective in producing the proper attitudes towards the ascension in the light as the awareness of man's union with God. Unfortunately, men cannot unite with that which they do not know or do not understand. God's got such a bad name on this planet. My reason for being, when it all comes down to it's said and done, I've said this before, I just want to reveal that God is real. That's all I want to do in my life. It's just that God is real. God is real. God is here now. And this idea of God that I grew up in Christian dogmatic programming and separatist and, awakening to a God that is greater than what I've ever known. God is real, and in our ascension, it is essential that we understand we are one with that mighty presence. Everything from there. What other problem do we have when we realize we're one with the one? We're one with the one. What is there to worry about? As Wayne Dyer said, if you knew who walked with you, fear would be impossible. And I always take it a step further. If you knew who you were, fear would be impossible. You are that. I am. I am that. I am. I and the Father, Mother are one. From there, it makes me take a deep breath. I'm not the allness of God. You're not the allness of God. You are not all of that. God exists within you. God is you. God is inside you. And there are opportunities to graduate your understanding of that. And by your levels of graduation and your embodiment, your integral embodiment of that presence will determine the quality of your life. But we got to watch what we're thinking. It all begins here. I love being a practitioner of mental healing. I really do. The science of mind is a powerful, powerful philosophy, a powerful way of life. To understand that here in your head, in my head, are all the seeds of creation. And what I'm choosing to believe and think about who and what I am and about this world will determine it. And energy goes where attention goes. A lot of us are focusing on the things on the outer, and we get bounce back, because that's what it's called secondary causation. And so when we see our bank account, or we see the wrong in the world, we see things that aren't working, we look at it, we have a thought about it, now we have a feeling about it, and I collectively create based on those conditions of the things that I don't want. And so the invitation is for us to turn away from the conditions, not ignore them, not take love in action, mighty powerful action that's going to bring justice, but not from a retaliant energy, from a love and action energy, from a place of I am that I am, walking through this dark little node, being the light of God in this dark little spot. I'm not consumed by the darkness. I'm not moved by the darkness, because I know that darkness isn't real. It's not real. The conditions, the effects may seem to be real, but this is what Serapis was saying earlier, understanding what is reality. What is reality? What is real? As John Lennon said, only love is real. Love is real. Real is love. But unfortunately, we can't unite with this God that we don't understand. Therefore, when one studies to show oneself approved unto God, it is in order that the nature of the Godhead may come more clearly into focus in consciousness. It is certain that happiness and peace are qualities of God. It is a further certainty that to produce vibrations in the world or even in the mind that are not conducive to happiness and peace is an offense against the purposes of the deity. If we're not peaceful and happy, then, there's a time and there's a season for everything, but ultimately, where's our north? And are we peaceful? Are we happy? Howard Thurman, I quoted him earlier, all of this is ultimately everything that we're doing. Are we happy? Are we peaceful? Somebody who's been coming up a lot is my birthday buddy. My birthday buddy. You know who my birthday buddy is? The Dalai Lama. His Holiness. His presence has been so present everywhere I turn. This man was taken out of his country. We all know it, and here he is. He's the most peaceful, happiest man on the planet, in my opinion, with all the conditions he's had to deal with. He's my hero, the Dalai Lama. God bless you. And that's ultimately the God of our understanding. If it's bringing more peace and more happiness, then that's the God. Now you're in union with that. But maybe we need to undo if we're finding ourselves in resistance and at war with life and people. It is never a question that the deity himself, herself, is offended by men and women to whom he seeks to impart only the highest gifts. Retribution comes rather from the impersonal law that seeking to bestow grace upon man encounters the personal acts of men and finds it necessary that these acts be tossed to one side so that the pathway of the individual may be clear to the obstacles. God's not doing things to us. God's not punishing. God's not created evil. God has not done this. We, in our misconstrued understandings of the law works. The law is impersonal. Life is done unto us as we believe it to be. That's it. And so if we want to throw away what's not working and embody a divine design, that's the invitation for us here and now. And truly, what the Centers for Spiritual Living, one of their mottos is to create a world that works for everyone. That's Ubuntu. That's one love consciousness. That's our intention. That's our intention, to create a world that works for everyone, not just the few. Men and women are often inclined to feel that divine justice is unjustifiable. The idea of a vengeful God is to them abhorrent. Let them understand that the laws of God are the laws of life, and that it is death or the opposing factors to the fullness of life and the abundant life. That's the enemy of man. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. The great cosmic law, then, in clearing away these obstacles, produces, because of the wrong acts of men, an act of retribution or vengeance, which belongs to the law in the impersonal sense, a divine adjustment, and therefore is mine, saith the Lord. Without this clearing action of the law, men could go on forever in a round of sense consciousness, vain competition, and destructive manifestation without ever bringing the self or this planet or any planet on any system of worlds into the fullness of the divine design. Inasmuch as the planet itself seeks to be raised and to ascend, the victory of each individual contributes to the victory of the whole. Won't you please concentrate, for the sake of your fellow man as well as for yourself, on producing in your world a greater awareness of the presence of God within you? Our world is hungry for those of us that know that right where I am, God is. We stand there at the line where inequity dwells, where evil dwells, that force. There are forces that want to hurt. There are on this planet. But they're mistaken. They forgot who they are. You know, recently I posted a thing about the sex trafficking of young girls. And I spoke, I am the law of forgiveness acting here. Just as Jesus on the cross, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. Our brothers and sisters, the recalcitrant souls who have forgotten so deeply who they are doing these acts, these atrocious acts on the planet. And the list is long. We're about ready to do 100 days of Ho'oponopono. You know, there's a few of us that have been, we'll be sharing this a few days, but 100 companies that are destroying the planet. We're not here to judge them and criticize them and just cast stones at them. We're there to offer forgiveness because we're contributing to it. We are all part of the contribution of what's going on our planet. There are no victims. We are part. And so let's wake up and remember who we are. And to close it, Serapis says, it does not matter how close you may feel to him. The filament of being is capable of holding a greater glow of the infinite. As long as you are unascended, there is room for improvement. If you're still here, which you are, because you're hearing this, you're still unascended. There's still room. We all have room to grow. You know, I heard Father Richard Rohr talk to Oprah yesterday, and he said, you know, the further down this path you go, the longer you serve in the love and light journey, the spiritual journey, it should lead to more humility. Not more, do you know who I am? I'm the embodiment of blank. My mission, my service. Do you know who I am? The most advanced beings and Heather Grace in my life, when we witness them, they are the most humblest beings. Not touting, pumping their chest and saying, look who I am. Look how smart I am. Look how miraculous I am. Look how magical I am. Look how psychic I am. Look how I can heal. Look what I can do. That is spiritual glamour. And that we call upon the holy fire in myself to blaze away that, to come in service, to come in namaste to you. Deepak Chopra was interviewed by Oprah recently, I heard, and she asked him a series of questions, and she goes, fill this, complete this sentence. What I know is, and he said, nothing. Deepak Chopra wrote a lot of books. He's got an institute, been around the world, and I can't even understand where the life stream that Deepak Chopra has been, and he still claims to, I know very little. You know, he wrote a book called You Are the Universe. What we see is 0.01%. There's so much to know, so much to see, so much to integrate, and so much to understand. You know, there's a sense of knowing who you are with spiritual authority, and then there's a sense of humility that we require. And what we have come to understand in the evolution of humanity, we've got to come into group organism. No more the lone wolves that know the good and they're the voice. We come into the holy circle, the holy sphere, the councils, right? Where we collectively serve. And now we're telepathically, without the spiritual glamour, without the personification, with the personality and the ego. But now we're coming into a place where we realize no one's greater than the other. And we're like the Justice League. We're like the Avengers. We're like, everybody's got a skill and are required and important. And you matter right where you are. So I thank you. I thank you for being awake. I thank you for all that you do to serve. And waking up and realizing there is something greater in you that's calling for you to expand and expand and expand. The God inside of you, the God of the universe, is an evolutionary impulse. It wants to expand. It wants to evolve. And so let's get loose. Let's not hold to our old garments. Let's let these old garments go and come out of the tombs and resurrect and come into our ascension, right? I'm going to ding the bell because we're about May this transmission go and reach all those it needs to reach. Once again, my intention for even going live is to activate, elevate, inspire, one love, Christ consciousness, the mighty I am consciousness within you. I got a little more serious today. Usually I am a little more loosey-goosey, Nick. I like to play. I like to keep it fun. But last night, both Heather and I, we were just retiring for the day. You could just feel this malaise, you could feel this heavy. You know, and sometimes it's not ours. Sometimes it's the collective. We feel the collective. You know, for those of you that empaths, you know, you might feel the goo, you might feel the icky, you might feel the storm, and the storm's coming. And the storm is not a storm on the outside. It may be on the outside because the elemental realm is going to match the inner storm inside of us. But those of us that know, those of us that are awake, you know, this is one of my favorite ring that I wear. I don't know if you can see this, but one of my friends make this. It's not really, I'll do that. It's my favorite ring. It's I am. It's the most powerful statement we have that we can say. Right. I have to get it up. Maybe I'll put the link in there, but she makes great jewelry, so I encourage you to have that reminder for yourself that I am that I am. I am, Nick. Has anybody got any questions or any prayer requests before I go? Because I'll end this with a prayer before we go. So if you have something that's on your heart that we can know together for you in this collective space of grace, let me know. I'll give you a moment. You're listening to the smooth sounds of harmonic revelation by Jonathan Goldman, the divine name sounds of the God Code. While I'm waiting for anybody that has prayer requests, I'll give a little announcement. If you're local, I'm excited for my beauty, Heather Grace Powers. Mark Nepo, incredible luminary, incredible author, is going to be at the Global Truth Center on Friday and Saturday. There's a workshop. Tickets might be sold out, but I think it's going to go online, and we'll find out more. But Heather has been invited to sing a song. So she is as she's today, in these next days, she's allowing a song to come through, and my beauty, my grace, my divine golden angel, what she does and how she allows spirit to move through her consciousness to birth a new song. A new song is going to come birth. It's going to be recorded shortly, and that's going to be with Mark Nepo this coming weekend. And then the 22nd is my beloved's 50th birthday. A lot of you are going to be at Disclosure. We're going to be at a wedding up in Ojai and celebrating in the beauty of this beautiful mansion, this gorgeous 100 acres in this gorgeous land in Ojai, celebrating love and celebrating her. And the 23rd coming up. I'm going to talk about that next weekend. This weekend's Father's Day, so have a great Father's Day. It's also my beloved and I are our third anniversary. We have 2 anniversaries. We got married in North America and South America, and this 16th on Father's Day is our 3rd anniversary as wedded union. And also, there's some things going on with the Elemental Grace Alliance that I really I'm going to invite you to. And this is a narrow path, but there is we've heard a lot on this planet, this divine financial dispensation called the RV, Nisara, Jasara, the global economic reset of our money. And it's happening. It's going to happen. But there's a lot going on the planet that needs to happen, and we need to help clear the planet of a lot of the junk, the discordant energy that's going on. And so there's an invitation that we've put out on our Facebook, that there are some discourses from the Ascended Masters that are calling us to raise our flame, to ignite the flame. There's a threefold flame, like I said earlier. Fan that by your decrees, by your prayers, by your love and action, by your service. And as we become that, we create a harmonic alignment with the councils of light beyond this realm. And so when we raise the vibration of this planet, we'll get ready for this dispensation. So it's go time. Freedom, sovereignty is here. Abundant living is ready for us. And we have to raise the vibration individually and collectively to be a match to that. Because a lot of us are enslaved consciousness, limiting poverty mindset. And we have to raise the vibration of abundant consciousness before we can even experience that in a tangible form. So there is an invitation for, if you want to do that, just message me, PM me, and I'll tell you more about it. But it looks like there are no requests. Everybody's doing great. Oh, Nick says, strength is respectfully speak my truth today. All right. Respectfully speak your truth. That's a good one. So just real briefly here, let's just come into this field, this mind, this connected place that we already are. We're not going anywhere. We're just recognizing right here and right now that there is one power, one heart, one mind, one presence, this God. And I give gratitude to this God presence right here and right now that has always been in my own personal journey, beckoning, calling me to its presence, to its feet, to its throne room, to just bask in that and to know that this loving presence is always pouring, always calling, always inviting each one of us at our own level to let go and know that it is good, that we are good, that life is good, that though the storms may come, they pass. Though the heat may come, it cools down. Though the waters may raise, they lower. Just like the breath, in and out, cycles within cycles, orbits within orbits. There's a divine orchestration, there's a divine intelligence that's governing our life and the cosmos. This presence is God. And I give gratitude to this presence. I give gratitude to the masters. I give gratitude to the angelic forces. I give gratitude to all the councils of light that are around each one of us, supporting us, calling us, teaching us, purifying us, magnetizing to us our good. And so I speak Nick's name here, that she has the grace and the clarity to speak her truth with love and kindness and with clarity, knowing that right where she is, God is. And I know that, and I claim that for her. I claim that for each one of us. And whatever our needs are, whatever our requirements are, and we just take a breath, and we know that the God presence as us, around us, within us, knows exactly what we require. And so as we let go and we let that loving presence fill those spaces, our good is guaranteed. It comes to us with ease and grace. Thank you, Serapis Bay. Thank you, Great White Brotherhood. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, God Presence, that we can be, that we are invited to be in union with this creative power. I am one with the one, as we all are. And so I let this be so. I love you all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing if you shared it. And if you haven't shared it, share it. And if you received anything good, anything great, any inspiration, any activation, any spiritual energy, I invite you to participate in the law of reciprocity. And go to thepowersoflove.com, scroll down to the bottom, there's a donate button, and just give whatever your heart desires to give, wherever you're at. And I promise you, when you participate in that, you're saying to the universe, not just me, it's not about me, but you're saying, I have enough, and I want to bless, and I want to give, and I want to be in that state of givingness, and you will be given to in greater capacities than what you've given. I know that for you. All right, I love you, we love you. Heather's with me right here, though she's not here, but she's here because she's me and I'm her. All right, blessings. Namaste.